What is going on, internet? It is your K-Mac, and this is the best time of the year. Better than Christmas, better than Halloween, better than every fucking holiday ever put together times 10 plus your birthday. God damn it, I love March Madness, and it's friggin' here, and it's time to fill out your brackets. Now, I'm here to give you some suggestions and maybe help you guys along and give you some of my insight, but that being said, I am not the best at these. But I will have a little bit of information to share with you guys to help you guys win your bracket pools and help put some money in your pockets. So let's go ahead and jump right into this, starting with the Midwest. Now, obviously, a 1 is never lost to a 16, and Louisville is a number 1 overall seed. So you can go ahead and pencil them in. That's a gimme. Next, Colorado State, Missouri. That's a tricky game. The 8-9 games are always a toss-up. But personally, I've watched a lot of Missouri basketball this year, and I really think that they're, I don't know, it's a tough game because it's an 8-9, but I like Missouri in this one. Moving on. Now, the 5-12 is always the favorite upset pick. There's been a 12 to beat a 5 seed, and I think 5 of the last 6 years, I think. It's happened at least once, but I don't think it's this matchup. I take Oklahoma State. Now, next up is St. Louis and New Mexico State. The Billikens, one of my favorite teams in this year's tournament. They're my Cinderella. We'll save that for later. But I like St. Louis. They're hot. They're really, really good, and not a lot of people watch them, but they are really good. They are worthy of that 4 seed. Next up is Memphis and either the St. Mary's or the other team. I think I'm not sure who it is, but either way, I like Memphis. Next up is Valpo and Michigan State. Valpo's coming on the Horizon League looking good, but Michigan State, too big inside, too strong inside. I like Michigan State. Next up is 7-10, Creighton and Cincinnati. Creighton's got one of the all-time greatest scorers in Doug McDermott, but man, Cincinnati's looking good, but I'm an MVC guy, so I'll take Creighton in that game. Next up, Duke and Albany, which is interesting because Duke actually lost in the first round last year to a 15 seed in Lehigh. So, but I don't see it happen again. Coach K will not let that happen again. So, I'm taking Duke. Next, over on the second round, we're going over to the South bracket now. Like I said, 1/16. It's never going to happen, at least not this year. 1 seeds are too deep, too good, too strong, too fast. Not happening this year. Moving on to more interesting, UNC Villanova. Now this is actually going to be a really tough game. UNC isn't what they've used to be in the past couple of years, but I don't see them losing in the first round. I also love this matchup of UNC Kansas. That's a really awesome matchup, but I'm looking forward to that game. Next up is VCU Akron. Again, the 5-12 matchup that everyone likes to take the 12 or the 5. I don't see it happening. VCU's got that full court pressure, really, really strong in the backcourt, and again, a really fast team, really high intensity defensive team. I don't see them going down in the first round. But moving on, we got Michigan and San Diego State. Again, if you're gonna get a little bit risky, this might be one of the games you want to pick the 13 over a 4, because the 13 over a 4 has happened in 5 straight tournaments. But I don't think Michigan is that team. Now here, this up until now, I've been taking all lower seeds for the most part. Haven't been getting risky. This is where I see an upset happening in the first round. Minnesota over UCLA. Minnesota slows the pace down so much. They make you play their style of basketball, and I don't know. I just see them over UCLA. I feel like the Big Ten teams were really strong this year, and I don't know. I like them over UCLA. I can't really give you an explanation more than that. Now, next up is Florida, Northwestern State. Florida's looked good this year, but they have been kind of struggling down the stretch. They've lost all 6 games that have been within single digits. So there are some questions of them being able to close out close games. But with that said, first round matchup, I'll have to give it to them. But we'll see going into the next round. I have them maybe going down next round, but we'll get to that later. Next up is San Diego State, Oklahoma. Now, the Pokies have looked pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and take Oklahoma over San Diego State. Kind of an upset there. Again, the 7-10 game isn't that big of an upset. And, of course, Georgetown over Florida Gulf, although Florida Gulf did take down Miami earlier in the year. But good showing for them, but I just don't see them taking down Georgetown. Georgetown, again, too strong inside, too fast, too big. Moving on to the West, we have the Zags over Southern. Again, 16 over 1. I just don't see it. Next up, I like the Wichita State Shockers over Pittsburgh. I've seen Wichita State play in person. I've watched them play in person once or twice this year. Really good team, really quick, really big inside. I really like them over Pittsburgh, although it's going to be a close game. That's a really good toss-up here. Again, the 5-12 upset, I don't see it. Wisconsin's too strong, too big. I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm a big Big Ten fan. But I don't know. I don't see that one happening. I'm taking Wisconsin. Next up is Cal State over Boise State or LaSalle. I don't know. Boise State's been hot lately, and so is LaSalle. But if you're taking one of those teams, they are a playing game. So I think it's easier and less risky just to take the 4 seed over them. Take Kansas State in that game. Next up, 6-11 matchup. We have Belmont and Arizona. I actually like Belmont in this game. It is one of my upsets I'm going to pick in the first round. I am really high on Belmont. They play some mad defense and really, really strong in the paint. I'm looking for them to overpower Arizona and take that upset. Next up is New Mexico and Harvard. I'm just straight up taking New Mexico. New Mexico has been outstanding this year. I think they've only lost 2 games all season, and just been outstanding the whole year. Should be an easy win for them over a Harvard team who is okay, I guess, but not in the same league as New Mexico. New Mexico, I have them going deep in the tournament. Next up, a 7-10 Iowa State Notre Dame game. I like Notre Dame. That game against, I think it was, that 5 overtime game I saw was amazing, and I don't know why I give a reason on this one. Again, the 7-10s are always kind of a closer game. I see it being a tight game, a well-fought game, but again, I'm taking Notre Dame. Excuse me. Next up, Iona versus Ohio State. I'm taking the 2 seed. I don't see anything crazy happening, although, like I said, it happened twice last year that 15s beat 2s. But I don't see it happening against Ohio State, powerhouse in the Big Ten, coming off the Big Ten tournament championship, playing really good. I don't see it happening. But moving on to the last bracket, the East, we have the number 1 Indiana, of course, pencil them in. And then you have an interesting matchup here with NC State and Temple. I don't know, it's a close one. I see it being a tight game. Again, these 9-10, or excuse me, these 8-9 games are always really hard to call. But I like NC State in this game. Next up, we have UNLV versus Cal. Now this is the 5-12 matchup we've been waiting for. If you're going to take, I say if you take a 12 over a 5, this is the one to go on. Cal looks very strong. UNLV's playing strong also, but I think Cal's playing better. They've really come together towards the last half of the season, and I like them going on in that round. And that's my 12 over 5 pick. And usually it happens. Usually at least one per tournament happens in the last 5 years or 6 years. It's happened. Next up, you have Syracuse, Montana. I like Cuse in this game. The orange, too big inside, too fast. Montana puts up a pretty good fight, but I see them going down. Next up, you have Butler and Bucknell. Butler played strong in the, I think it's Verizon League championship, but they didn't come out on top. I think they lost. Bucknell, I haven't seen a whole lot of Bucknell, so I'm going to go ahead and take Butler there, although I don't know a whole lot about Bucknell, so I'm not really feeling so strong about that decision. Next up, Marquette over Davidson. Davidson can get hot, though, man. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and take Davidson as my 14 over a 3. You heard it here first. That's my major upset of the first round, and I'm going to have to go with that one. That's risky, but I'm going to have to go with that one. Next up, we have number 7, Illinois at Colorado. Illini, oh man, the Illini pissed me off. I'm a huge Illini fan, but man, they live and die by the 3 this year. DJ Richardson is hit or miss, and he could show up and go off, or he could just, be a stroke and just totally choke on you. But God, I hate doing this because I know the Illini are so susceptible to losing. But I'm taking the Illini in that first round matchup, and then I'm taking Miami over Pacific, the 15-2 game. And that's it for our first round. Let's go ahead and get into our third round if you're counting the first 4 play-in games. Next up, we have Louisville versus Missouri. Louisville's playing real good right now, real strong. I don't see them losing to Missouri. Next up, we have the 4-5, Oklahoma State versus St. Louis. Like I said, I really like this St. Louis team, guys. I really see them getting into the Sweet 16 and even challenging Louisville for that Elite 8 spot. It's gonna be a really interesting game if that goes down. But on the lower half of the bracket here, Memphis versus Michigan State. Michigan State, too strong inside, like I said before, playing great right now. Even though they lost to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game, it was a good game, and they're really strong inside, good post play. But this next game is interesting because Creighton versus Duke, Doug McDermott versus Plumlee inside. I don't know. That's going to be a tough game. I kind of want to take Creighton over Duke just because I hate Duke so much. But at the same time, Duke is Duke, and they do tend to make deep tournament runs most of the time. So I'm going to go ahead and take Duke in that game. Close game, though. I say Doug McDermott has at least 25 points, and it's a really close game. Might be one of the funnest games of the whole tournament to watch. Now let's go ahead and move over to the South Region Sweet 16 games. I'll take Kansas over UNC. UNC kind of not what they've used to be. Made a good show, make it to the third round, but I don't see them beating Kansas. Next up, VCU Michigan. Another really good game. Like I said, I'm really high on both these teams, but I like VCU. That full court press and that pressure defense, lots of handle, and they just come at you and they do not stop. Next up, we have Florida, Minnesota. I like Minnesota in this. Minnesota knows how to play games and close them out. Florida kind of wavering down the stretch, losing like a couple games here and there, losing a lot of close games. I think Minnesota plays them deep into this in a close game, but I think Minnesota comes out on top in a close one. Next up, Georgetown, Oklahoma. I like Georgetown in this. Too strong inside, and real quick backcourt on that one. Oof, a lot of talking here. Moving on into the West Region third round games, we have Gonzaga versus Wichita State. Real high on the Shockers, but the Zags are going to move on. Kelly Olynyk is incredible, 7-footer, amazing shit he's doing right now. But yeah, I see Zags winning that one. Next up, Wisconsin, K-State. This is another close game. It could go either way. I really don't know where I'm going to lean on this one. I'm going to go ahead and take K-State on that just because I like Bruce Weber. And even though he's no longer the Illini coach, he's now the coach of Kansas State. If I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I'm not real sure on that, but I think he is. Next up, we have New Mexico, Belmont. Like I said, I'm real high in New Mexico. Playing great right now. Playing great all season, really. And coming into a great matchup versus Notre Dame, Ohio State. I'm going to take Ohio State in that, setting up a not really any upsets going on in this half of the bracket I see here. All these teams I see just playing who they're supposed to play and beating who they're supposed to beat. I don't see a whole lot of upsets, at least in the West. More of my upsets are in the East bracket. But let's go ahead and finish out those second round games. Indiana over NC State, just because Indiana is playing great right now. Like I said, they didn't win the Big Ten tournament, but they put a good showing. Next up, I'll take Cal over Syracuse. I don't know. That's going to be a tough game. Syracuse, like I said, real big inside. I'm taking Syracuse. Butler, Davidson. This is a real fun matchup. These are my two upsets here. Davidson was one of my biggest upsets, probably over a 14 over a 3. But I think the magic ends for Davidson. After that, I'm taking Butler. And even though I hate to say it, I don't see the Illini beating Miami. Miami's too strong, too fast. Illini, man, they could sneak on somebody when they get hot on the 3-ball. But I just don't see it happening. I'm taking Miami into the Sweet 16. So now we have our Sweet 16 set up. Let's go ahead and get it going. And this game, oh man, I love St. Louis. I wish they would have played someone else, not got the 4 seed, maybe got something different. But I don't see them beating Louisville, but it's a really tight game. Really well played. I like that game a lot. Next up, I have Michigan State over Duke. I don't know why. These are all kind of coin flip games. They're all going to be tight. They're all going to be well played. That's just how I see it. Next up, we have Zags I'm taking Zags over K-State just because they're playing great now. Kelly Olynyk is amazing. And then I'm going to take New Mexico over Ohio State in a really, really tight defensive game. Like I said, I am really big on New Mexico right now. And I see them taking out Ohio State in a tough one. Next up, Indiana. Indiana could be the first 1 seed to go down for me. I think they're the first 1 seed to get out from the tournament. They're susceptible, and they're good, but they have their off days. Like I said, I watched the game where they lost to the Illini, and they're susceptible to anybody. But, you know, that's the same thing could be said for any team in the tournament. Any team in the tournament could be anybody, but that's just how I see it playing out. Next up, I'm taking Miami over Butler to set up our Elite 8. We have a 1 versus 3, Louisville versus Michigan State. I'm going to go ahead and take Louisville into the Final Four. And then over here, tough choice here. Kansas over VCU. And I guess I forgot to take this one down here. I'll take Georgetown. I forgot to do that. Elite 8 on this side of the bracket. But that makes us with a 1-2 matchup, Kansas versus Georgetown. I'm going to take Georgetown in that game. And a real tight one. Next up in our Final Four, Syracuse, Miami. I'm going to take Miami. They've been playing great. And this is an interesting game. New Mexico and Gonzaga, 2 of the teams that I have been the highest on throughout the entire tournament. I really hope this matchup happens. This would be a sweet game to watch. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Zags. They've had a great year. And I don't know. I see it happening for them. Now, in going to the championship game, we have Louisville versus Gonzaga in the Final Four and Georgetown versus Miami in the Final Four. Oh, man. 1 versus 1 and a 2 versus 2. Man, I like Louisville, but God, it kills me to say that. I love the Zags team. And then other side, I see Georgetown over Miami in a tight one. And then for my winning score, I like to say it's going to be a low-scoring game. Man, really not really low-scoring, just normal. I say 56-47. Louisville being our champion. That's how I see it going down. They're the #1 overall seed, and they're that for a reason. They're playing great, and that's just how I see it going down. But that's it for this video, guys. So go ahead and leave me comments. Tell me who you guys got in your brackets. Who's your Cinderella teams? And that's it, guys. Get the fuck on. Until next time, peace out. Alright, like I said, if you guys are new around here, you guys can feel free to subscribe to get all of these latest conspiracy theories in your sub box weekly. I probably do 2 or 3 a week. Also, come over to my channel and check out this video on your screen. It's the brand new Endgame DLC from Battlefield 3, so go ahead and check that out. And game the fuck on. Until next time, guys. Peace out.